Tony Travers, you're a director at the LSE. Thanks for joining us here at Runways. Now we seem to be winning this argument over infrastructure investment being key to economic growth. Are we winning the debate over whether to get it to actually be constructed or built and moving ahead with delivering this infrastructure?
It's much easier to get politicians of any party to say they're in favour of infrastructure than for them to use their power and legitimacy to drive it through. And the reason for that is, with big projects, you often find about a tiny sliver of the population, that's less than 1%, really doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other 99 or so percent who kind of want it a bit. And it's the asymmetry in that is fascinating because the people who are really against spook the politicians. It's not true only of airport capacity, it's true of high speed too as well.
Right, yeah. We heard earlier this morning at the conference the comment that the trouble is democracy just gets in the way of our planning. I mean, do you subscribe to that? You know, are we too democratic?
I'm not sure we are too democratic, no. I mean, it's easy to say, well, we should sweep away democracy when it's not our home or our sleep that's being affected. But having said that, we do live in a densely populated country, particularly in the south.
Yeah.
We do have lots of beautiful countryside and lots of existing homes, and everybody has a vote. So this is part of a legitimate process. The question is, how much better can we do the process?
Right.
And we can do it better than we have done.
Well, talking about the process, obviously right now we're talking about Heathrow, we're talking about airports, but we've also got HS2, we've been through the process with Crossrail. We've got the DCO, we've got hybrid builds. Are we getting better? Are we getting better at actually delivering and navigating the process?
Well, I think we're certainly learning about how not to do things. Now there's a step between learning how not to do things and then doing them better. But I mean, learning how not to do things, I think Crossrail, which you mentioned, you know, did take a very long time. You know, it was first mooted back in the 70s, some people say in the 40s, but in its modern form in 1989, and it will open in 2018, just before Christmas, around Christmas. So that's in 30 years even from in its most modern incarnation. Yeah. Now, Terminal 5 similarly seen as not the best way of doing these things. And we learn from all of this, and everybody now says we must do it better than that. But quite convincing parliamentarians to come up with the right processes and frankly better compensation mechanisms. If you ask me one thing we could do better to push these things through, it's better compensation.
Right. One of the big issues facing the government right now is this devolution agenda, increasing the number of elected mayors. I mean, London seems to have benefited from having a mayor. Do you see this as one way to really try to streamline the planning process across the country?
Well, mayors can undoubtedly drive through change, though interestingly, in the case of Heathrow Airport, the mayor's been against expanding it, though he's had his own proposals for the island, the estuary airport out in the east of the city. So, you know, mayors can push things through, but they can be obstacles as well if they don't like things. And of course, elections can change things. You know, if there's a change of mayor, or there will be a change of mayor in London next May, and it's possible that a new mayor could have a completely different policy towards the airport or exactly the same one. Greater Manchester will get a mayor in 2 years' time. My suspicion is they will want to champion Manchester's airport, which is, you know, Manchester Airport Group's very successful. So they are generally champions for infrastructure in the area, but not in every case.
So I suppose a big question to finish. Heathrow, it's been recommended that the development happens, that a third runway is built. Getting from a recommendation, of course, to a decision is the next stage. Do you think we'll actually see a third runway by 2020 or the start of construction by 2020?
Well, you can never quite tell in Britain whether the setting up of a commission or an inquiry is a step towards doing something or a step towards not doing something. And this one is a particularly fine example of the not quite sure. In the end, something will have to be done. Britain's good at civil aviation. It would be madness not to take advantage of being good at an industry or a part of an industry and then letting other airports and other countries and other cities take that advantage. So something will have to be done. So eventually would be my answer, something will be done. Let's hope eventually it's a bit sooner than it often is.
We shall watch and observe. Thanks very much, Tony.
Thanks a lot.